With the disappointing season the Phoenix Suns have had, changes are going to be necessary for this team to really reshape and get back to the spot that they dream of doing. And one of those players that is going to be affected by that is Bradley Beal. And we've had multiple updates revolving around him and his future with the Phoenix Suns, but we have a recent one that we're going to dive into exploring what this front office and Matt Ishbia, James Jones, Josh Bartlestein, and all involved really have in plan for this Phoenix Suns team and trying to figure out what they are going to do with Bradley Beal's contract. So we're going to dive in and explore all of that in this episode of Suns Digest. I am Bruce Velez, and you guys have been absolutely fantastic showing the love and support for the Suns fan base with the down season. So I really do appreciate all the love that you guys have been giving us on these videos and in support throughout the entire season by coming through the live streams and everything like that has truly been impactful, and it really has meant the world to me as someone making Phoenix Suns content for a little over just a year. We're hitting that 1 year mark shortly, and we've done really, really great getting 2,000 subscribers. So I couldn't thank you guys more. So thank you. Without further ado, let's dive in and let's get into the news at hand and kind of dive in on this Phoenix Suns team as we're getting closer to this point of inevitability with the squad and blowing it up and making some key changes to the roster. And one of those players that is going to be affected by that is Bradley Beal, as we have obviously seen. The star guard, or star if you want to call him, $50 million paying guard to be example, has not lived up to his expectations in Phoenix, regardless if it was injuries, regardless if it was fit, regardless if it was effort. He did not live to what he was meant to be, and the Suns looked to move him last offseason, failed to do so, and are going to be looking to do so this offseason as well, as it has been clear from John Gambadaro multiple times there's a 0% chance that Bradley Beal is back on the Suns team next year, where he doubled down and said 0%, which has led fans to believe that regardless if the Suns can't find a trade, they will find out a way to get out of Bradley Beal via a buyout, as obviously he makes that $50 million contract, that albatross contract with the $57 million player option that he will not waive, all because we know he's not worthy of making $57 million, and that would be an absolute disgrace to chuck away the free money. So for Bradley Beal, it's a smart decision to obviously take this money. I don't blame him on doing so. The Washington Wizards gave him this contract. It's all fault of the Washington Wizards front office and the Suns front office for trading for this contract. But as we see from Evan Cedery, the Heat, Nuggets, Spurs, and Warriors are teams who could show interest in Bradley Beal when the Suns do buy out his max contract. And this was reported by Gambo on his podcast with Gambo and Burns. Obviously, Beal is viewed as a mid-level exception type of player around the NBA as it relates to his new deal. And right around that middle level exception, around that 15 to $20 million rank, which is where I would expect Bradley Beal to be kind of getting out in the open market. I said, up to probably, 20, 25, maybe even $30 million he would be worth if he was a little bit less injury prone, I do believe. But I do think that at around 15 to $20 million for the productivity that Bradley Beal can give you on the court and is a role and in his role would be very, very fair to say for Bradley Beal. And teams like the Heat, Nuggets, Spurs, and Warriors could go out there and use that or use some sort of money to trade off of to free up money to bring in Bradley Beal. We know the Heat obviously have a little bit of a bigger cap hit with Jimmy Butler leaving. They didn't want to trade for Bradley Beal on the $50 million contract, but sure, they'd welcome Bradley Beal on a $20 million contract because that's representative of his value. Similar with the Denver Nuggets. They were restrictive in the second apron as well and weren't going to make a move of Michael Porter Jr. or Jamal Murray for Bradley Beal because why would they? They would be getting worse. But by adding Bradley Beal at $20 million, that can help with some scoring and some shooting on the wing that Denver desperately needs, specifically around Nikola Jokic, having him out as a scorer. The Spurs obviously pairs well with Wild Victor Wembanyama, and the Warriors are notoriously known for their three-point shooting. Could go out there and just add another star in Bradley Beal to add that firepower as a three-point shooter. But as we all know, this Phoenix Suns team, like we mentioned in the roster offseason, is going to have to see some changes, some cuts, some big things happening, not only with just the roster, front office, and coaching as well, but with the team only bringing back 7 guys under roster and still being over that second apron mark of $207 million by paying $218 million, the team will have to shed some salary to drop below that second apron into the first to at least free themselves of these restrictions, allowing themselves to aggregate salaries and trades, giving them the mid-level exception of their own to bring in on this team. And I think that would definitely help out the diversity and dispersity of the depth of this squad, specifically breaking up and trading away one, if not two, of the $50 million contracts, or letting go of those $50 million contracts in Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. But how do the Suns realistically get into this spot here, right? Because they obviously are going to try and trade Bradley Beal first. They're not going to want to waive him or go that route immediately, as it would affect the salary cap for this team and building it for the future. But there may be no out in trading Bradley Beal. So how will this team be able to do that? Well, we're going to get into that next. So let me know your thoughts down below. Would you guys like to see Bradley Beal on any of these teams? Do you think he's valuable for any of those teams that we mentioned down below, the Heat, Nuggets, Spurs, and Warriors? But next, we're going to go into how is this possible for him to even land on one of those teams. And if you've seen our recent videos, we kind of have diving in on it a little bit, but I do have an article from Keith Smith, NBA, courtesy of Spot Track, who is the salary cap man, ladies and gentlemen. If you want anything to know about salary cap, definitely check out Keith Smith on his show, the front office show, where he does the work with Trevor Lane. But not only just that, his writing for Spot Track, because he goes really in detail with the salary cap, and it's where I've been able to learn how to make these trades and how to understand all of this behind the scenes stuff work with the restrictions and all of that is all through Keith. So really give him a big shout out here, even though he's not going to be watching or listening. I just want you guys to check him out, just so that if you guys have any questions around this, he can be the guy to really help you out in understanding it, because he released an article today kind of going over how the Suns can get off Bradley Beal and get him to be waived. And here are the ways that they can do it, right? They can straight waive him, which would mean they would pay his $53 million this year and $57 million next year. Those would be cap hits. So the Suns would be restricted this year, playing with trading Kevin Durant, bringing some people back in, but then still having to play with these veteran minimum contracts around Devin Booker in a shelled Phoenix Suns team, because Bradley Beal is getting $50 million this year and $57 million next year. This is something that cannot happen. It will not happen, just because the Suns are not going to have a $50 million cap hold on their roster, specifically when they're trying to compete and contend alongside Devin Booker. The next way to do it is obviously via a buyout, and the buyout is obviously the way that you're going to be able to most likely get this done with a player in Bradley Beal. You have to take some of his contract and give him, the rest of it. So you'd give him the $110 million, and then you'd give him maybe 30, 40 of it, and then he takes that $15 million that he can get elsewhere and go out and get it in free agency. This would then free up the Phoenix Suns a little bit here going into next year, taking a little bit less of a dead cap. Or there's the waive and stretch, which would mean a 5-year waive and stretch rule. But with the Suns already waiving and stretching Nazir Little and EJ Liddell last season, with waiving and stretching Bradley Beal, it puts them over the amount of percentage that they would be able to waive and stretch for their stretch cap salary. So for this to happen, the Suns would have to work a buyout with Bradley Beal, in which he would be taking less money, right? So taking back only around, let's say, $35 million, right? He leaves that $15 million out on the table. That number then gets reconfigured with the percentages here with this Phoenix Suns team, in which he'd be taking a huge pay cut this season, and then still would have to be waived and stretched over the next couple seasons, in which the Suns would be paying $20 million over the next 5 years. So as a Phoenix Suns team, if you're contending, if you're still pushing with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, with whoever is on this roster, there is going to be a $20 million hold that the Phoenix Suns cannot move off their salary and have to continue paying for the future, and still this construction of trying to compete, which also hinders them as well. Think of a Yusuf Nurkic type of contract, but instead of him being benched or DNP'd or not even, or just even being in Phoenix, that contract is just being held but not being there, and there's no person there. There's just a contract hold right there for the Suns. That would be desperately tough for this team. So like I mentioned, no real safe escape here with the Phoenix Suns in all of this, unless they are able to find a trade for Bradley Beal. And even if they are to find a trade for Bradley Beal, they might have to trade for another albatross contract for of themselves, or they might have to take back some lesser value players slash contracts just to get off of said Bradley Beal. And that could be great for the Phoenix Suns, as a couple quick key role players around Devin Booker could help, but who's to say they are going to be impactful or key role players coming back in a deal with how bad Bradley Beal's contract value is out on the trade market. So that's something to keep an eye on. You might even have to attach one of these rookies in Ryan Dunn or Issa Guidaro to get off of Bradley Beal's contract, and I'm personally someone that does not want to do that, but I know a lot of other Sun fans are willing to do so in the case. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. That's kind of my synopsis on all of this. I do believe that Bradley Beal will not be on this roster next season, as John Gambardaro has kind of really hit that home for all of us. Regardless, the Suns will make a move, regardless if it's a trade, regardless if it's a stretch and wave. I ultimately think that Bradley Beal will be off this Suns team. I think he will be gone. I don't necessarily know if it will be a trade or stretch and wave. I'm hoping it's a trade, and I think that with some teams falling out of the Cooper Flag sweepstakes when the draft lottery comes, that there'll be more suitors for a potential Bradley Beal trade. We'll just have to keep our eyes out and wait for those moments. So let us know your thoughts down below in the comments section. Like I said, you guys have been fantastic showing your love and support, so it's been super appreciative on the channel at least. So thank you guys so much for that, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, and go Phoenix Suns. Peace out, everyone.